Welcome to the Editor's Note Comics Podcast.
I think that this world, it needs men that are willing to make the hard call.
Central Maine's best comics podcast, by default.
Ain't no thing like me, except me.
Here are your hosts, Zach and Jared.
Maps come with me. No. When do we start?
Welcome back to the show.
Yes.
The show where we have fun and talk about things. You know,
I
it's
feel
weird.
like that's a gross understatement and a very glossed over description of what this program entails.
Look, I checked our numbers this week. We got to keep positive, stay uppity.
Are we in a slump?
No, we're the opposite.
Oh, we're in a boom?
Yeah, we got to keep this going.
Oh, okay, hold on. Let's celebrate then. Just open my can of government surplus beer. We're ready to
That took
go.
you a little while.
It was a little harder than I anticipated.
It was like watching you try to unclasp a bra. Like, hang on, I'll get there.
I also did that with one hand, so that
You know, it's not impressive if it's slow.
slow and steady wins the race, my friend.
No, it doesn't.
Did you ever hear the story about the old bull and the young bull?
I don't have time for your
Yes,
old-timey
here we go.
parable.
Here. So an old bull and a young bull are on a hillside, and they see a field full of cows. And the young bull goes, let's run down there and get one. And the old bull says, well, let's walk down and have them all. See, there you go. It's patience.
And then they took the old bull out to pasture, and the young bull had his free reign.
Damn it. I've been had.
To hell with your parable.
All right, whatever.
Let's talk news.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
It's time for the news.
First and foremost, let's talk sports.
I got hair from my beard in my mouth.
That doesn't make any sense. That's
It just happened. I don't know
terrifying.
how. Well, I hope it's my beard hair. Either that or it came out of the top of the can that's been in your refrigerator.
Or it came from inside the beer.
Oh, flavor.
We're talking Super Bowl.
Yes.
Because, hey, this is going to combine things that we both enjoy.
Yes.
Have you heard of this bet between the mayor of Philadelphia and the mayor of Brockton?
I've not heard about that bet.
Yeah, Brockton, Massachusetts, home of actual boxer Rocky Marciano. Big old statue of Rocky.
Yeah, real Rocky.
Yes.
Yes.
And Philadelphia, home of fake Rocky, also with a statue of Rocky in town.
Fictional. Somebody put a Tom Brady jersey on, which is exciting.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
But that's actually kind of the bet.
Oh, really?
The bet is that the losing team, they'll have to dress up their Rocky in paraphernalia of the other team.
Oh, I like it. It's a good bet. Solid bet.
I don't know. It feels like you're just asking for some kind of property destruction.
Yeah, somebody will melt down the bronzed Rocky statue. Yeah, the hell with that. And melt it.
I can tell what team you think is winning.
Oh, boy. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I've spent like maybe in my entire life, like maybe 8 cumulative hours in the city of Philadelphia. Actually, no, like probably 24. Do you think the people of Philadelphia would tear the statue down before they ever let it get dressed up in the colors of a different team?
No, I just think it would last about 3 seconds.
Somebody would like torch it, light fire to it.
I mean, it's a fully bronze statue. It's not going anywhere.
Well, I mean,
No, those will get torn down almost instantaneously.
Oh, well, I would like to see that, actually. That would make for some riveting television.
Just a riot around the Rocky statue.
Yeah, why not?
I'm afraid of violence is my answer. In either city.
Well, that may be true. What do you got to lose?
Why would you deface these statues?
I'm not saying deface them. I'm just saying it's a good bet. It's a cool bet.
Sure. Or you can go online and bet on other Super Bowl related things.
Oh, there's a ton of prop bets. Like heads or tails on the coin. Does the opening team kick or receive? What's the first touchdown? What's the over-under on the length of the first?
Does Janet Jackson make an appearance at the halftime show?
I think she is, actually.
Is she?
I thought so. I can double check.
I don't really care.
Anyway, move on.
Yeah, it was a different time when our biggest concern with the world was half a second of a nipple.
Which now I have a brand new 4K TV, and it would be in crystal clear, stunning high definition. You would see each of the individual jewels on the little sun that was around her nipple.
Fantastic. Just last night, from when we're recording this, Black Panther had its world premiere. And there's an embargo out for reviews until February 6th. But we do have initial Twitter reactions from people who, don't have to sign an embargo.
And it was good.
Everyone seems to love it.
That's not what you told me specifically. You used different verbiage and phrasing.
I didn't even know what I said, but I'm just going to... Oh, I remember now. Yeah, that was crass. People enjoyed it was the gist of what I said.
They derived great pleasure from it.
A climax of sorts.
Yes. They weren't going about this movie, in fact.
But yeah, everything, world premieres you always want to take with a little bit of a grain of salt, because I think even if you saw a bad movie at a world premiere, like if there's the right atmosphere and all that, you can still have a good time with it. But still, it's a positive sign. And what came with this, aside from, just this Marvel movie, we got a trailer. First trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp. You didn't like it. You were a little...
It's a
little sassy ninny.
Seems a little campy to me, but...
It's fine.
It looks like
Do you not want to have a good time?
I do want to have a good time. I didn't watch the original Ant-Man, so...
Oh, I know.
I'm not really endeared to this in any one way or another.
What I'm looking forward to this movie the most is the director came in, like when the movie was already in production, they had I think, 4 different writers, or 4 different writing teams come in and, like, rework the script. The director left right as production began, and it is still a totally serviceable movie. It's not great, but it's completely fine, and there's some good beats in there. And if he was able to do that with a disaster of a production and come away with a totally watchable movie, what's the guy going to be able to do with the movie that he got to work with start to finish, which is what I'm looking forward to.
Fair. Reasonable.
The trailer itself, my biggest concern, we see Scott Lang with multiple bathrobes. Why do you need multiple bathrobes? So many bathrobes.
Because you're sleeping around and you want to have a fresh bathrobe for every girl that comes over?
Well, he's not sleeping around because we see that he's under house arrest.
Oh. Then he's under house arrest and has no need to go out.
So he has multiple bathrobes?
Yes.
I just assumed that he shrinks them all down so he has a massive selection of a wardrobe. Like, he doesn't need to worry about closet space.
That's actually not a bad idea when you really think about it.
Overall, I thought the trailer was really good because we don't know a ton about the plot. I only did it a couple of times, but looking through it for kind of Easter eggy things, I don't have much in the way of spoilers. The only thing and it's not really a surprise, we see a brief shot of an engine, and then we also see it briefly in action of a ship that they're going to be using to go down to the microverse to find Hank Pym's wife, Janet Van Dyne, who we know is played by Michelle Pfeiffer.
I do like me some Michelle Pfeiffer.
It's not a spoiler if it's casting.
That's a good point. Oh my, I didn't know that this person whose name is on the movie poster was in this movie and was this character.
Yeah.
You ruined it for me, Zach. Thanks, jerk.
Look out. We see one shot of the villain Ghost. Not really an Ant-Man villain, more of an Iron Man villain, but that's fine. It is a character that uses, basically an Iron Man suit to be either intangible or invisible, plus other mechanical upgrades. I kind of have a feeling that something is going to happen to Scott's family. We see him in the home of his ex-wife and daughter with the FBI. And if he was under house arrest, I don't see why he would be under house arrest at a house that isn't his own.
It could be like a witness protection house. That way Cap can't find him. Or other members of the Rogue Adventures.
He was in a house with the FBI and before he was in a kind of dingy apartment. So we'll see what happens there. I do like some of the technology that we see in there of like the Ant-Man suit growing and shrinking. We do get another example of a children's toy being made exceptionally large. Last time it was Thomas the Tank Engine.
This time it's a Pez dispenser.
With Hello Kitty.
Yes. I did like the shrinking of the large corporate building to be able to just be rolled around.
What does that do for the plumbing?
Everything shrinks.
But they pull it out of the ground. What does that do for the electrical, the plumbing?
See, that's my problem with the movie right there.
Okay, great.
There's my suspension of disbelief is broken.
Because you don't know what happened to the plumbing?
Exactly. I mean, what if you want to reset that building somewhere? You got to get permits. You've got to have connection to sewer and water.
You're a real negative Gus.
Listen, this is a complete role reversal from you at the very beginning of this program all those days ago.
What days? What are you talking about?
In the very beginning of the show, you were angry and mad at everything, and I liked everything.
Yeah.
And you were I called you angry, Zach, quite a bit. And you got angry over the littlest things.
Somehow that stuck.
Angry Zach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a character in his own right.
Oh, he's a character, all right.
I don't know. I guess right now I'm sober, Zach?
No.
Is that the difference?
That's a fiction.
Well, no, I'm going to do movie news first, then we'll get into comic news.
Yes, please.
Continue.
Regale me with your stories.
Something has ended and something has begun. The Venom movie has officially wrapped, which is probably good because it's coming out in October.
That's probably, yes.
That got fast-tracked so hard. Like, we got to do this quick. Like, when they gave the release date, I'm like, no way they're going to make it. But apparently, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We didn't talk about it because I haven't seen anything solid on it. But there's a rumor that, what's his name? Tom Holland, the new Spider-Man, shot for 2 or 3 days on that movie. So it might be tangentially connected to the other Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, but they'll probably never mention it.
That was an incredible use of the word right there. Tangentially. Good job.
Said I've only had a sip of whiskey. I'm not down to my single-syllable words yet.
I haven't heard that word in a while.
That's just a rumor, though. That's why I didn't talk about it at the time, because I didn't see anything solid on it. But yeah, Venom has wrapped filming. They're going into post-production. And speaking of productions beginning and or ending, Shazam has officially begun.
Ooh.
Speaking of a movie being fast-tracked.
That's also hammer down, let's go.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe they want to try and do a lighter movie after just sad movies and sad movies. Because Shazam is supposed to be a light character for the most part. It's a kid who idolizes, super happy Superman and tries to be him, essentially.
But he says Shazam all the time.
Yeah, he does say Shazam.
And cool things happen when he does say Shazam.
And there's a wizard who's also named Shazam.
There's a lot of Shazamming going on.
There is. Speaking of rumors of people being in movies, rumor has it that Henry Cavill will be playing a small role in that movie.
With or without the mustache?
Probably without. The Mission Impossible 6 trailer did drop this week. I didn't watch it. Oh, wait, no. It's coming out during the Super Bowl? I don't care.
Okay.
One of those two happened. Because I didn't watch it, or it's coming out during the Super Bowl.
My guess would be it's coming out during the Super Bowl.
One of those two things happened.
You don't want to see the mustache thing? You don't want to see him with the mustache?
I mean, I want to see Justice League behind-the-scene video of it. I want to see him trying to be really serious with a mustache.
Dressed as Superman.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. Mission Impossible 6, I'm sure it will be a serviceable movie.
Yes. What they think is impossible is actually possible.
I fell asleep during the last one. I don't know what happened.
I can't remember either, to be honest.
I red boxed it, but I fell asleep. It was riveting, I can tell you that.
So it would seem.
Movie also in production, Captain Marvel. Some set photos were leaked to the internet, and the internet had themselves a little hissy fit.
Oh, did it really? Why is this? Is this a surprise to you that the internet went surly?
Yeah, I don't really care.
Okay.
Because I'm not that concerned. We saw Brie Larson in a Captain Marvel outfit. Traditionally, or when I say traditionally, this costume's only been around for a couple of years, because before she was in the Miss Marvel getup. The current costume, which has been established for, 5 years, is kind of red and gold. And the one that the internet saw was green and gold.
Was it ever green and gold at any point in time?
Maybe, because a theory that people floated, and I agree with, is it's more... She gets her powers from the Kree. We've seen the Kree in Guardians of the Galaxy. But in the comics, we do see a Kree uniform that looks very similar to that, also color scheme-wise. So I'm assuming that they're going to connect her origin back through that somehow, and that she will get the red and gold one by the end of the movie.
That's probably a safe assumption.
Yeah, I'm not that worried about it.
I mean, in Iron Man, his first suit was silver, so...
Yeah.
In the movie, and nobody really got mad about that.
Yeah, I'm not that worried.
I didn't think you were, really, to be honest.
Well, and also, if that's the low point of the movie, I'm like, it's green and not red. I'll be like, the movie's ruined. Like, it's fine.
What if you're colorblind? It's not an issue.
You're right. This is like that dress.
Yes, it's exactly
like
that dress. Is it
green or is it red?
Exactly. Well, it was blue and white, actually.
Not this.
Oh, the dress was blue.
I don't remember or care.
Okay, I know.
If I'm being honest with you.
Which I appreciate. Pacific
Rim Uprising had their final trailer. It took me about 20 minutes to find.
It was really incredible how hard you were looking for it.
Well, because they're...
And the lack of success.
I hate all those guys on YouTube who are like, extended trailer, new trailer, but really it's just like they found like a TV spot or a feature.
Their own mashup of it, yeah.
They slap things together and claim it as their own, so people are like, oh, this is the extended trailer because it has an extra 30 seconds on it. But it's just someone who has their own kind of front tag on a thing and a TV spot. I just wanted to find the new one. What are you doing?
Me?
No, not you.
Oh.
You're texting.
Yes, I am texting. I'm responding to a question about a dilemma. I thought it was okay. Again, I haven't seen the first Pacific Rim movie, so I don't fully understand everything that's going on, except for there are a lot of giant robots and these alien creatures that come from the center of the Earth, which, how have we not discovered them earlier? This is probably our fault for trying to, drill for fossil fuels all the time and digging down low into the warm mantle and core of the Earth.
Look, I gotta tell you, the movie's mostly going to be about robots fighting monsters. You don't need to worry that much about the plot.
Oh, so I can just go and watch a lot of stuff get ripped up and have a good time?
I'm pretty sure that's the movie. Well, it's being directed by Stephen S. DeKnight, who is a pretty incredible action guy. So I have all the faith in the world what he's going to do with it.
They had billions of dollars worth of damage.
Oh, yeah, no, it's one of those movies that, when it happened, people put out articles. I'm like, this is how much it would cost to make a Jaeger. This is how much destruction they did, and this is how impractical this movie is. It's a movie. It doesn't matter.
But where did the plumbing go?
Yeah. But are they on city water?
Why are there just geysers of water and sewage spewing from the earth where that building was?
I think the trailer looks pretty cool. It's not going to be a life-changing movie, but it just looks like it's fun.
It could be. Somebody could watch that movie and then, I've solved the problem of creating a giant robots with augmented reality interface.
Yeah. I think it looks good. There's not a lot to say. It's We didn't see a ton more. We don't really know what the plot is. I think the plot is basically the monsters come back and they have to kill them. Cool. I'm fine with that. Show me something I haven't seen before on the big screen and I'm all in.
Maybe the monsters win.
That'd be a fun twist.
Wouldn't it?
And then you could go into a trilogy where they got to fight back against a world that's been overrun by the monsters.
I feel like that's probably what's going to happen.
I don't know. You came up with a good idea.
Thank you.
Give you credit when you do.
Zing!
You'll get a star after the podcast.
Oh, yay.
I have a cold one waiting for you.
Oh, really? Don't placate me. You tease.
Hey, let's do a transitional story.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Because we're going to talk about a comic book company that got sold because it's mostly going into movies. Valiant Comics.
Like Prince Valiant?
No.
Oh.
I feel like this happens every time.
Yes, it does. I'm just reiterating that Prince Valiant was a thing, is a thing.
So is Valiant Comics.
Can we also talk about Prince Valiant? It's like one panel every week. How do you keep up with that?
Does anyone read it? Does anyone care?
I'm sure there's plenty of people that I'm sure care. Otherwise, why do they still print it?
I don't know. I imagine it would be hard to base
Wasn't Stan Lee involved with Prince Valiant for a while?
I don't think so.
Or Kirby? One of the two.
I don't believe so, but who knows?
Well, you tell your story. I'm going to look this up because I feel like I knew something. I'm going to be smart here in a second.
Valiant Comics has been bought out by company DMG, who's produced a number of movies, including somewhat recently, or not depending, Iron Man 3, and another movie that was good that I don't remember now off the top of my head because I didn't write it down. They were already a primary shareholder. They owned 57% of the company, but now they have bought it outright. This is not the first time Valiant has been bought and sold. It probably won't be the last, but they made it very clear within this purchase what they're doing is going to be focusing on moving Valiant Comics into other areas of entertainment. And that their comics and other things will reflect solely the idea of how can we make a bigger buck off these characters. It's currently the third largest superhero universe following Marvel and DC. And I saw on the internet, a lot of Valiant Comics fans and creatives were kind of concerned about this deal. But at the same time, I kind of can't blame them. Valiant owns an incredibly small share of the comic book world despite what they boast. They have some very dedicated and loyal fans, but at the same time, they're not exactly making money hand over fist. And if they can start making more money off of those characters, I kind of see what they're doing, but I can also understand why fans are concerned that the stories that they like are kind of going to go, down the toilet if it's going to be solely focused on merchandising towards another area.
By the way, I was wrong on Prince Valiant.
Cool.
Stanley had nothing to do with it at all.
Wasn't aware that he did, so yay.
It was created by Hal Foster. In fact, there's a guy writing it right now, who's the current writer, Mark Schultz. He's writing a most widely recognized work is his self-created and owned comic book series, Xenozoic Tales.
I think Stanley is still working on the Spider-Man daily strip that still happens that no one ever talks about.
Oh. But I think you'd like Xenozoic Tales. You know what it's about?
No, I do.
It's also called Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. It's about a post-apocalyptic world where dinosaurs have come back and other prehistoric creatures, and they live with humans.
Okay.
There you go.
Speaking of daily comic book strips,
okay,
worth mentioning, Mort Walker, creator of Beetle Bailey and High and Lois, has died at 94.
I saw that he had passed away.
Aside from, sad that, creatives dying, obviously he did a lot of work. He boasts the longest comic career in the medium, consistently.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I think he had a 60-something year run. He worked consistently longer than anyone else in comics. I think there's still a couple that are still coming out. He's not even done yet. He's dead.
It's just still working on it, or had worked on it.
Yeah, just stuff that isn't out yet. Also, stuff that I didn't know until kind of his death when I was looking in an article. Apparently, he had kind of a dirty sense of humor, and he would draw a lot of kind of more risque Beetle Bailey comics, just to show his friends to giggle about it. And I want to say it was Sweden, but I might be wrong. They actually got collected in this one book over, not in America because we're stuck up and can't deal with that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, kind of a dirty sense of humor. They're pretty funny.
Well,
if you want to look up dirty Beetle Bailey strips.
Careful when you do that, though. You're not on a work computer or a school computer.
They weren't pornographic, but they were, in imagery, I should say. Verbally different story.
Nice. I have a piece of breaking news for you. You might enjoy. Maybe you have it. I'll wait and see. But it's some DC news.
Is it that TV show I didn't look into at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care.
Superman prequel called Metropolis.
Yeah, boy, I don't care.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even put it in the news. People talk about superhero burnout. I get that more in TV because there's so many mid-range budget superhero TV shows. I'm I don't really care too much of that because that's more of a time suck.
Too much of a good thing?
Well, I can give you 2 hours for a movie every couple of months. That's not hard. But if you're asking me to make like a weekly commitment with a bunch of middling TV shows, that's where I feel the burnout more than I feel in like movies.
That's reasonable. Because at least after the movie, after 2 hours, you're not committed to it next week. Unless it was really good and you're like, oh, I gotta go see it again. But with like a TV show, you're like, oh, how are they going to screw this up next week? Or, oh, that was really good. I can't wait to see what happens next week. Oh, this week sucked.
I know. I feel trapped by the Marvel stuff. I'm like, I've seen it all. Those 8 hours of Inhumans. Those were a long 8 hours.
Were they as long as the Iron Fist hours?
Longer.
Wow, considering that those were half the hours of Iron Fist.
Coincidentally enough, same showrunner. I think avoid him to let him do more things. I guess is the secret there.
Unless you want like action and strong character development and excitement.
Unless you want to watch people in a boardroom.
Ah. BORED, boardroom.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Transitioning fully into comic book news.
Yes.
I guess we'll start with the sad one, but it's not really that sad because ultimately it's not going to matter that much. Doomsday Clock, the Watchmen sequel, has been moved to a bi-monthly book. Roll a tear. Whatever. If the book comes out and it's good, then great. It's just going to take a little bit longer, which is too bad. But, if they get it out, they get it out on a consistent schedule, and it remains to be good, then I really can't complain.
Speaking of Doomsday Clock, did you see or hear or read about the real-world Doomsday Clock moving 1 minute closer to midnight?
30 seconds, but yes.
Well, now it's 2 minutes away. It's like 11:58.
Well, it was only a 30-second move.
Yeah, but it's just the closest it's been to midnight since the 50s.
Yeah, that was weird because Doomsday Clock, the comic, was trending, and Doomsday Clock, the Doomsday Clock, was also trending literally on the same day. I'm like, that's weird.
I think you made a tweet to that effect.
I did, because I was just like, 2 different Doomsday Clocks trending.
And not for the right reasons.
No.
Neither of them.
One of them was fun. They're like, oh my god, did you read Doomsday Clock number 3? And the other one was like, we're all going to die. With this bi-monthly schedule, we might not get to it in time.
Well, that's unfortunate.
I know, I'd like to see how this wraps up.
Yes, literally and figuratively.
Not the world, preferably.
Yeah, well.
If we can avoid it. You know what Wolverine story is really popular?
Old Man Logan?
Bingo. Bingo bango.
Good thing you're not onomatopoeia.
Yeah. There's going to be an upcoming story with Old Woman Laura. So X-23 is going to be getting her own future post-apocalyptic tale.
Interesting.
Whatever, do it. If you're going off of a popular premise, and X-23 has gained a lot of popularity, no small thanks to the guy who's been doing her series for a couple of years now, which has been very well received, so great, do it. I mean, I guess not super original, but whatever. When I saw it, I was like, ooh, I'll read that.
Will you?
I mean, I will, yeah, when it happens.
Okay. I'm not disputing it, you will.
Yeah, I'll order it, and then I'll read it, and then I'll sell it. And that's how that works.
Good on you.
Which is always, you're going to run into that with anything, but people buy stuff, like, off the shelf, like, oh, it's never been read. I'm like, I don't know, I might have read it. Couldn't tell you exactly which one I read.
You had to read one of them.
Yeah.
You should charge more for that one. Be like, read by Zach.
That brings down the value.
Well, don't sell yourself short.
DC announced that there's going to be 4 new team books coming in the future, but the one that was the most exciting is that Batman writer for 5 years and now currently doing DC Metal.
Metal!
Yes, they do show the horns literally in every issue.
Yes, we've discussed this.
Writer Scott Snyder will be taking over writing the Justice League.
Metal League!
Who the hell knows? But I think that's exciting. I've liked everything that he's done for DC. He literally wrote their flagship book for 5 years, so why not give him the flagship team? All for it. I like what he does. And the Justice League book has been kind of boring, so let's make it better. Sorry, Justice League book.
MJLGA.
Metal Justice League of America?
Make Justice League great again.
No.
MJLGA.
No. I don't like anything that you're doing.
I'm trying to be creative. Trying to spice it up a little bit.
Stop dancing.
Okay.
What was that? Were you trying to salsa?
Yes, a little bit.
Okay.
Because it's like 12 degrees in your basement, dude.
It's like 60. I turned on the heat like an hour before you got here.
I'm cold. I'm like legitimately chilled. I'm wearing like 2 long sleeve shirts and I'm cold. Sorry.
You're a real whiner.
I am. Yes, you're correct. Carry on.
I don't think I can anymore.
Oh, have I ruined your will to live?
No, I just think that's all I have for news.
Have I broke your spirit?
No, I'm not turning up the heat.
Have I trampled you into the earth?
The heat stays where it is.
I'm not asking you to turn the heat up anymore.
I gave you 2 extra degrees than I normally do.
Wow, that's the nth degree.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm cold. I just am. Sorry.
Probably have the flu.
Oh, don't say that, dude. I can't.
It's not cold down here. If anything, I'm a little bit warm.
Well, this is discouraging.
I'm glad I'm not wearing socks or slippers because I'm a little toasty.
I could stand to put on another layer myself, actually.
So glad you found a blanket.
It's not even really a blanket.
Oh, I've made that observation. It's not mine, but it has pockets.
It does. Okay, here we go.
A blanket with pockets.
This is better. It's not even a blanket. It's not even a Snuggie. It's like a scarf with pockets.
Don't know what to tell you.
Oh, here we go. Is anyone in this house normal sized? There we go.
So now you've taken 2 tiny blankets.
I have taken 2 tiny blankets, and I still even have 1 full blanket. I feel better now, though.
All right, that's the news. From there, we're going to continue part 2 of our 4-part series of Kevin Smith's DC-a-Thon. Regular theme song, though. I didn't ask. Don't want to be greedy.
I feel like a Muppet.
Okay.
Anyway.
Theme!
It's Jared's Reading Corner.
Stop flapping about and start reviewing.
Well, what is there to review?
The book you read.
All right, so we're reviewing Sounds of Violence, which takes place, I wouldn't say immediately after, but it is it's the next in his sequel of a series of arcs.
I mean, this is literally, this is the next issue following Quiver.
Yes. So our boy Ollie, that's what I'm going to call him now.
Oliver Queen, Green Arrow himself.
Ollie. Well, he's back from the dead, as we know now, and he's kind of adjusting to life back in the real world, and he's also trying to adjust to the fact that Speedy, who was the young female woman of the night who he took into the youth center in Star City, wants to be the new Speedy, wants to be the Green Arrow's partner. He's not very much having that.
No. Yeah. I feel like you want to go beat for beat when you don't really need to.
No.
The problem, quite frankly, this book isn't super interesting. You start off with Quiver, what we did last week, and there seems to be an idea and a drive there. And this kind of happens a lot sometimes with people who come into comics, is they'll come in with one really great idea, and then they have to continue it, and they go, I don't know, I guess we'll do something else. So this one feels like a pretty big step down from the last one.
Can I just point out this one scene that was kind of like...
The sexual innuendo scene?
Yeah, the massively sexually innuendo scene. And the Riddler's in it, by the way, FYI. And this guy who looks like he should be a member of the Thundercats.
Hawkman?
Yeah, sure.
So, Green Arrow, back from the dead, wants to try and restart his life, so he goes on a date with his old flame, Black Canary.
Yes. And he and Black Canary, well...
Canoodle.
Yeah, oh yes. And here's some lines.
I can't wait to hear these sensual sentences delivered by you.
You, Mr. Queen, are a naughty boy. A naughty, naughty boy. I aim to please, which Black Canary responds with, you hit the bullseye, Arrow Man. But that's not the worst of it. Here we go with some more.
Stop trying to make eye contact with me.
Sorry. He goes, I don't know where you're going with all this, but I already shot all of my arrows. She responds with, isn't there anything left in that quiver? I might be able to knock once more, which is an actual, archery term. But I think I should pay a visit to Sherwood. And then she goes, isn't this getting too corny? I'm like, absolutely. Apparently, Green Arrow, our boy Ollie, he's succeeding. Because the last line in this scene, I can't speak for the men, but you sure are making me merry. That is can of corn. That is more corn than shepherd's pie.
I was going to say that was a weird 2 pages, but he made a weird metaphor. But the whole thing is the two of them are kind of rekindling their relationship. He's also trying to build a relationship with his son when all of a sudden we meet a new villain.
Yes, Onomatopoeia, who actually, not, super lame, interesting concept, but it's how would you ever defeat this guy? Because all he does is say onomatopoeia words, and those things happen. So if he says blam, you get shot.
Well, he doesn't have superpowers. He's just speaking like he's in a comic book.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so if he says blam, he shoots a gun. If you walk through some, dry leaves, he says rustle.
What if he just went pew, 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 pew?
Well, that would only work if he had a laser.
Oh, well.
The dog is peeing.
Oh, good for the dog.
That's what all that rustle is. Rustle. So
Green Arrow must now engage in combat with onomatopoeia. I really broke this down to 3 acts. It was Speedy trying to become the sidekick, Black Canary trying to become his number 1 chick, and him dealing with onomatopoeia. That's really all this is.
Onomatopoeia ends up shooting his son, Connor Hawk. There we go. Got the last name. Green Arrow rushes him to the hospital, fights Onomatopoeia again. Connor's fine. The villain escapes into the night.
That's pretty much the deal.
Yeah.
Although I do like the scene in the operating room where he's got the arrow in his mouth. If he dies, so do you. And then they, save his life. They got him back, and then he beats him up. He's got an arrow in his mouth, and he spits the arrow out. And he's fighting him without a shirt. it's a standard 3-act deal with some nudity.
Yeah. Like, whenever we do comics, typically what ends up happening is I have to read them a week in advance so I can give them to Jared to read. And I was thinking about it yesterday when I was starting to prep the show, and I was going, and I've read this multiple times, so I was going, boy, what happened in this? Like, I was really struggling to remember. It's unfortunately kind of forgettable, but what we're going to see with this kind of connected universe is this villain is going to reappear. So it makes it significant in the sense of Kevin Smith building his own little corner of the DC universe, but at the same time, aside from the introduction of a new villain, not a lot happens.
No, it's kind of like, I don't want to call it filler. It's not. It's almost like real-time exposition. It's not a good jumping in point because it also assumes that you understand everything that happened from Quiver. Which, if you don't, then you can like, who's she? Why is she here? What's going on? So I think like our discussion last week, like, is Quiver a good jumping on point for Green Arrow? And it was like, you had a mixed review on it. After reading Sounds of Violence, I feel like it's an okay starting point if you want to hop on and go forward with this stage of the arc and this mythos of the character. Because once you've read Quiver, some of the stuff that happens in here kind of does make some sense. You know, you understand more about why he's so passionate, about Connor, not just because Connor's his son, but because it's his second chance at life. So you can see how he's acting differently to try and preserve life. And you can kind of get that feel like this is a guy who's been dead and wanted to stay dead and then decided to come back. So you can tell that he's got more of an investment in what he's doing this time around too. Yeah, it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. There's not really low points of it. It just doesn't have much in the way of high points. You're not going to call the Sherwood Merriman scene a low point. I mean, it's good cornball. It's a little much. It's probably the low point. But I mean, I'm not going to say it's because I just think of not even like take Kevin Smith out of the equation, just any writer there sitting going, how many Arrow-related sex puns can I make? Well, it wasn't just Arrow. It was like Robin Hood-related sex puns. Yeah. Fortunately, there was nothing said about his Little John. Jesus. Yeah. Come on, now. You don't need to try and make them. Or his long bow. I'd like to draw back on your long bow, she said. You don't need to write your fan fiction here. Well, some Green Arrow fan fiction? Or your Robin Hood fan fiction. Either way. Maid Marian. It's just a name of a character now. Yep. Now you're just naming characters. I am. The Little John one was good. Like, though. Oh, good. I hope he doesn't fry or tucker. That doesn't make sense. Oh, that was a real Alan Adale thing you did to her. Yeah. For the Sheriff of Nottingham. Yeah. Your boy. Who's your boy? Jerry Six. Oh, jeez. No, Jerry Six is your boy. Of the 4 we're going to do, this is probably the blandest, I guess is the word I'm looking for. It's more of like kind of a placeholder arc. It's just trying to, it's almost like a bridge. It's trying to get you from A to B. I feel like there was a really good idea for the first series, and then it was like, oh my god, this is doing so well. Keep going. What else do you have in your quiver, let's say? We can do our own. Oh, there we go. Yes. It was like, well, I'll give it another shot. Yeah. I have an idea for a villain, but there wasn't much outside of the idea of the villain. And we don't know anything about him at all. We know that... Do we even... I read ahead. So I'm like, do we learn that in this one or the next one? Well, I think the thing that you get with, like... Oh, yeah, we literally learn nothing about him. Yeah. I think the thing with this villain is there's some mystery to it, but I think it's almost a bridge. It's like A to B. It's not a bullseye, but it doesn't miss the target. Stop trying to make eye contact with me. How you doing, champ? That's how I feel about it. I mean, the art is solid. Repeat again by Phil Hester doing it. Good stuff from him. If it wasn't for the villain being introduced, and we are going to see a return of that character... Everybody's kind of in the same spot they were in the beginning, except for Connor's in a hospital bed. Yeah, this one would be kind of skippable if it wasn't for the introduction of the villain. Reasonable. Which, this one is half the length of our last arc. What we're doing next week is... These arcs are all over the place lengthwise, which is fine. That's not a bad thing. I actually kind of prefer it when you're not writing for trade and you're just trying to, tell your story point A to point B. What's going to be different from what we see from this compared to next time is these were written within the continuity of the main story. Like, this was Green Arrow. We did 1 through, I think this is like 16 or something. Oh, 50. I lied. I was close. Compared to the 2 Batman arcs that we're going to talk about, which were designed just as miniseries, so it was kind of removed from regular old Batman. Plus, you could kind of, write the number of issues you want to write to tell the story that you want to tell. And we'll see
kind of varying degrees of success in those next 2 arcs as well. But what's going to be interesting is they have high points and low points for different reasons than what we're seeing here, I think. But we'll kind of get to that when we get to that.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, I wish there was more to talk about with this one, but it just kind of... It's okay. It's not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not super memorable, and it's not anything to kind of recommend.
There's some fun moments in there, but like you said, generally it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it bad.
No, but that's... It feels a little bit weird to kind of see how quickly this kind of sputtered out. Because you'll see that a lot sometimes with guys who are, like, trying to write, like, a couple of different series, and they've been going, like, long-term on a book, and you can kind of start to see when they just start coasting and they start losing ideas. This one happened very quickly. It didn't take very long.
But I think what it did do is it showed DC that Kevin Smith could write for Batman, and he could come up with some creative stuff for The Dark Knight.
Well, even you saw in the first one, like he used Batman every chance he got in the last one.
Yeah.
Which I think is more the idea of what he wanted to do. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. I mean, if you're a diehard Green Arrow fan or a diehard Kevin Smith fan, go ahead. But if you're not, let this one pass.
I mean, if you made the commitment to Quiver, you can at least follow through with this.
Yeah, nothing bad about it, just... I don't think you're going to walk away from this being like, my world was changed.
That's twice you've mentioned world-changing, life-changing things tonight.
Have I?
Are you on the precipice of some sort of great life event?
Not really.
It is almost February, and your giant announcement.
Oh, I was going to say my birthday. Like, it is almost my birthday.
It is almost your birthday. You're almost 30.
Yeah, it's fine.
But you also promised me in February you're going to have a massive announcement.
Maybe I'll do that on the 100th. Speaking of that, I should do that now, because we can get more of them. For our 100th episode.
100.
We want to do kind of an extended letter or email or whatever you want to call it time. So send in your questions for that or comments or whatever the hell. I don't really care. Something, try to diversify, I guess. If you've never written an email, now's the time. This has apparently had a boom of new people recently.
Really?
Yeah, we're doing a nice solid uptick.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry. Sorry, new listeners, for kind of going like, this comic's fine. But it just kind of is. But we're going to move on to something I think more exciting next week when we see Kevin Smith's first run at Batman.
I'm excited for Batman.
Yeah, I think it'll be good.
I like Batman a lot.
It's kind of a quickie review time. That's okay.
That's all right.
Better to be concise than...
It's quality, not quantity.
Than, long and boring. I guess we can go from there to letters to the editors.
Now for my favorite part of the show. What'd I say? Talk to the audience. Oh, God, this is always dead.
Here's another one of your letters to the editors.
We'll give you a point on this one.
Okay.
Because I bet you can expand on it pretty well.
I'll try.
Why did Star Wars start with Episode 4?
Ooh, well, there's a lot of different feelings and reasons behind that. Originally, when it came out, it didn't have an episode number on it. It didn't even say New Hope. It was just the opening crawl.
I know. I feel like, now this has become a quiz. Go. So far, correct.
And originally, when he wrote Star Wars, when George Lucas wrote Star Wars, it was massive. And the movie was like, the studio was like, we're only going to give you enough money to make like this much of the movie. So he kind of had to shelf the rest of the movie because he's like, Empire of Dreams documentary, he talks about, well, I just spent like, was it 2 or 3 years of my life writing this? I'm not going to, no, it was a year. It was like a whole year writing. He's like, I am not going to let this whole year of work go to waste. So I'm just going to make what I can with what I have right now. And then from there, I'll make the other movies the way I want to make them. I think it's exactly as like by hook or by crook, I'm going to make my movies. And so the reason it starts with Episode 4 is a couple of things. One is an homage to the Saturday serials and Buck Rogers, which, had episode whatever.
Yeah, Flash Gordon, those
Flash
old
Gordon.
serials. The idea that, those would show every Saturday at the movie theater. There would be a different chapter. The only way to see all that would be go every week, but more realistically, you were just going to catch bits and pieces of it. So if you went in to go see a random old-timey movie serial that has your crawl, which Flash Gordon had, that you were more than likely coming into the middle of it.
Yes. And that also established that this was an ongoing story. So it's not like it's the start of a story. It's that the audience is picking up this story in progress.
Yeah, Star Wars has, at least for a time when Lucas was doing it, literally every time the movie was re-released in theater or re-released on video, even if they didn't largely announce it, the movie has been changed for every single release that it had. Right down to Star Wars becoming Episode 4, A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first one that had it was saying Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back versus 4. But
to which the studio was like, why would you say that? Episode 5, this is the second movie.
There was also originally when Lucas decided that, he was going to be able to expand it, he had a 12-movie plan. And, he's gone back and forth, but you can read old, especially in the 80s, old interviews of him laying out that he didn't have a 12-movie plan. And later on, he said it was a 9-movie plan.
That's what I had always heard and kind of grew up with. It's like the little child, like the urban legends that like circulate amongst the children. Just like that the Indian with the star on the Tootsie Roll wrapper means you get a free one. That's bull. That is a bold-faced lie.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll just...
You don't know what? On the Tootsie wrapper, the Indian with the arrow. If you got one, the rumor was that you could get, if you collected enough of them, you get a free Tootsie Pop.
Okay.
I don't know if it was true or not. Maybe it was a ploy to get kids to stop throwing their wrappers on the ground. I don't know.
But yeah, so there was the intent of doing kind of what we saw, but then after the prequels, Lucas stopped. When he sold Star Wars to Disney, he did send off his treatments for 7, 8, and 9, which they immediately threw into a trash can, dumped some gas in there, and lit it on fire. Yeah.
Well, what I understood growing up and what I was always told by my friends was that it was cool to do. Oh, wait, sorry, different story. What I was
trash can fires.
What I was always told was like the first, like the 3 movies that came out, 4, 5, and 6, were like the story of Luke and Darth Vader. And the prequels were about how Anakin became Darth Vader, which happened. And then 7, 8, and 9 were supposed to be Luke turning to the dark side and then turning back.
There's bits and pieces out there. I don't know how much is really there. My recommendation, because it's a pretty fantastic book, read I think it's called How Star Wars Conquered the Universe. It's a wonderful book if you want to learn a lot of Star Wars history that I highly recommend. Enjoyable back to front.
Was I correct on my answer to the question, by the way?
Yeah.